Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to another update. Welcome back to a Thursday. It is February 8th, 2024, about 12:22 p.m. here, California time. Taking a live look at the Iceland area, where it still looks like we're seeing some fountaining going on there across the area outside the Grindavik area, northeast of Hagafell. At least one eruptive vent still active. I believe we do have a couple more in this webcam that we can see there. Quite the die down from last night, but still seeing a little bit of volume of magma shooting up there towards the surface. And of course, creating that a larger lava flow, which, by the way, is quite impressive. Let's go over here and check this out here real quick. This is the latest map put out here by the Iceland Meteorological Office, and it does show the activity here from back in December, the darker purple. The lighter purple here indicating the most recent activity here that kicked up last night. Notice that's in the same spot. Eruptive fissure activity opened up within that same region, although we're getting a little bit of a lava flow difference here. Very close to the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon, which was evacuated early morning hours. But I think everyone got out of there safe and sound. The lava has not quite made it down there. Looks like there's some type of diversion going on here. I know they do have a built-up wall or barrier around the region, so not quite for sure if it hit that area or not, as far as the barrier. But it does look like it's kind of scooting out of the way. But either way, you can see the extent of the lava flow here to the west and also down to the south as well. So quite a bit of volume coming out there this morning throughout the day. It did make a very noticeable drop here in the inflation activity across the Svartsengi area. Notice these last couple runs here, those two dots indicating some deflation going on, and of course that makes sense, right? Because that was quite a bit of volume coming out overnight with some huge fountaining there across the area. Again, striking just up. Let's see exactly where we're at here. Here's Grindavik. Most of the earthquake activity for now is a little bit further up north and east, but some of this may be some older movement quakes from the last 12 hours. But the eruptive fissure activity right about here in this region, and again north of Hagafell, northeast of Hagafell, right around the Slingarfell regions, the same area that's seen that movement back in December. The one in January was a little bit closer down here, and of course we had one eruptive fissure vent that made its way into the northern part of Grindavik. But for now, it looks like back up north where the original December events happen. So let's see what's going on far as wording goes out here across the area. I'll zoom this back in here real quick and see what's going on. The vigor of the eruption decreases significantly. Make sure I got the most recent update, which I believe we do. Okay, so obviously we're looking at a decline in the volcanic activity. It was quite vigorous for a little while, spewing out quite a bit of volume of magma, or lava I should say. But now things are starting to calm back down. Once again, they mentioned the map down here. There was some tephra coming up here from the this activity. This is pretty much like very light solidified lava that gets shot up into the air and blown at a distance. In fact, they found some of this stuff there in Grindavik, which is about 3 to 5 kilometers from the source of the eruptive fissure activity. Pretty much a frothy or vascular material which forms when splashes of lava cool quickly in the air during the lava fountaining process. And that, of course, was dynamic last night. Pretty much like glass stuff. Either way, probably not best to handle it because it is very sharp. And, of course, if that falls on your vehicles or your windshield, might want to blow that off or use a hose to get that off your vehicle. Now, the current gas emission activity from here looks like all of this is blowing offshore. You can see that cloud there of volcanic gases being blown away from any other areas there in Iceland, which is good news. The current map here, far as volcanic activity, volcanic unrest, hazard map. Go back down here a little bit and show you guys. I don't know why this one takes a little time to load here. But either way, Zone 2, Zone 3 is our current areas to watch now, maybe for some further fissure activity. I don't think we're going to see it, though. It's dying down. We'll have to watch this and see if this recharges. It's been awfully weird here recently with these eruptions. They do kick off a lot of they do put out a lot of volume of magma, but it don't last long. It's very short time, and then it takes a couple more weeks. In this case, it was about 3 weeks, almost a month here, for this thing to recharge, so to speak. Now, I know there is a magma chamber area underneath the Svartsengi region, and this area right here is where the magma intrusion takes place, kind of like a dike area below. But I can't help but wonder if maybe there's some other type of chamber underneath this region, because we see a huge amount of volume, and then it just dies out super short. And it's almost like a repeat here. This is the third time it's done it. Of course, a couple different locations here, but very interesting events going on out here across this area of Iceland right now, and I think that will possibly continue. Right now, their forecast map, or at least the hazard map, shows 2 and 3. The most potential for seeing some sinkholes, eruptive fissure activity without warning, lava flow, tephra, gas pollution, earthquakes, and fault movements here in Zone 3 and Zone 2. Grindavik down here has a potential for sinkholes, lava flow, gas pollution, tephra, fault movements, eruptive fissures, and earthquakes. They did add eruptive fissures in here. Zone 4, goodness, it wasn't like that. So these two are new down here. So there's always that potential of seeing some further eruptive activity here across Grindavik. They did evacuate the Blue Lagoon, which is good, because that lava flow started getting super close there to the area. But I believe there's a berm across that region. And so yeah, that's the most recent hazard map out there right now. And again, everything's kind of dying down, but eventually could pick back up, right? Here is the GPS measurements showing that downturn deflation last couple runs here, but it did spike up right before the eruptive fissure activity, and I believe that was due to a larger push of magma into the area. We started seeing all this earthquake activity roughly about 30 minutes prior to the eruptive fissure activity up here, and that's actually a shorter time frame compared to back in January and December, when we've seen roughly about an hour or an hour and a half time frame between earthquake activity and the fissure activity that opened up there. But I have noticed over the last couple days here, earthquake activity being elevated across the rift zones, south and north up here. We noted that on the maps, on our updates there, on our past updates. And I think, we're getting close to seeing it. I knew we had to look for earthquake activity, and we had noted some of this movement out here in the rift zones. And I think that's something to look forward to. Again, if this does happen to kick back up in terms of eruptive fissure activity. We've seen it the last couple times, so I believe it should follow the same trend. But for now, let's see what we got. Still seeing earthquake activity out here. A little bit down here in the Grindavik area, but notice a lot of it has died off. But we'll continue to watch that, continue to monitor it. Still, obviously, possibilities of seeing some eruptive fissure activity south, as noted there in the hazard map. Once again, a live look of the area north of the Grindavik area, northeast of Hagafell. I still see at least 3 active regions here along this area. And this website called livefromiceland.is is the cool site to check out all these neat images and webcam views. Still looks fairly active there, but again, this should die down. Lava flow still continuing there, though. And we'll see how this plays out throughout the day today. Let's see. Once again, there's that map. Let's see if there's anything else going on here across the area. That's kind of what it looked like this morning there when it was really kicking up. Pretty neat looking. We'll continue to watch this and kick back and report back on any changes that take place out here. Here's a little daylight image here of the eruptive fissure activity. That is just giant. I don't know why it opens up in a much bigger image. But yeah, we'll definitely watch this, folks, and see how this plays out. Earthquake activity. Don't see a whole lot here on the USGS map, but obviously there is still some earthquake activity there on the Iceland map. What is going on here is a continued swarm of activity here in the Gulf of California. That has been a kind of an ongoing deal here for a little bit. Yesterday, we've seen quite a few 3s and 4s in there. Looks like today, but we're still seeing some earthquake activity. Let me bring this back to the last 24 hours. I don't know why this gets moved. Occasionally it does. But yeah, swarm of earthquake activity there in the Gulf of California. Really no adjustment up north here yet. But a lot of times along the plate boundary, we'll watch for some further adjustment up and down the area. But right now, I'm really not seeing it. A couple smaller earthquakes out here through Southern California. Northern California, about the same. One little earthquake here off the coast from this morning, a little 2.3. Always got to watch these earthquakes here along the Cascadia subduction zone because this area has been building up some energy there for 324 years. Into the Pacific Northwest, a lot of this here from yesterday. We did have a couple smaller ones here today up into the Washington area. Looks like one in Mount St. Helens and one more up around Mount Rainier. These are just very small earthquakes that are taking place up there. Really no major swarming going on. But we'll continue to watch that. And, of course, down here in the Gulf of California, just got to keep an eye on the plate boundary. I did get quite a few responses there from yesterday's 4-pointer. And definitely appreciate it. But as far as I know, there was no, test or anything like that out here as far as any military test. So just a little weird. At least confirmed military test anyway. But that earthquake from yesterday, 4-pointer off the coast there of Cape Canaveral, Florida. No more earthquake activity for now. Looking at Texas and Oklahoma, a little bit of movement stirring up out in these oil fields. Aside from that, what else we got here, folks? Yellowstone National Park. Let's go over and check this out real quick. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of activity. 2/8/2000, or yeah, it looks like today's time frame, right? Let's see here. Yes, it is. All right, let's get back to earthquake activity. Nothing going on there at Yellowstone. Up into the Alaska area, handful of quakes. Really nothing major though. Across the rest of the globe. Well, got some movement down in Australia. This 4.5 coming in. That's kind of a larger earthquake for that area. Outside the Melbourne area of Australia. And let's see what we got. They have seen some earthquake activity. I think it was out here last year. They seen, I think, a similar 4-pointer. Maybe even a 5-pointer, but it's a little bit further north. It was felt by a few folks out there around the Melbourne area. And more so around the epicenter area. So, yeah, a little bit of activity stirring up out there today. As far as New Zealand goes, I'm not really seeing things showing up out here across the map. Some older quake activity, it looks like. But look at that. Yeah, 4.5 out there. Goodness. Most of the activity today confined out across the Java Trench, along the area and the Philippines region. Pretty good cluster of activity stirring up out there. And looks like we do have a little bit of migration wanting to make its way up towards this area across the plate boundary here. A couple 4s out there in the region of, see exactly where that's at, East Afghanistan, Tajikistan, one of the two out here, Tajikistan. 4-pointer coming in earlier this morning. Last night in the Greece area, looks like they did see a 4.5, also a little 4.1 up here in the Albania region. This area has shown some elevated activity here recently. A little swarm going on still in Italy. Atlantic Ocean, aside from the movement up north in Iceland, it looks quiet. South America always active down here. Really no big quake activity yet, but still seeing quite a bit of swarming going on there into the Peru-Chile Trench. I'm going to check something here real quick, see if USGS put out anything on this. A lot of times they'll put out a little notification news article, but doesn't look like they mentioned anything about it. Hawaii. Let's see what's going on out here in the big island of Hawaii. Any changes overnight? If anything, it looks like things are calming down in terms of earthquake activity. Let's see what we got here for the latest information statement on Kilauea Volcano, which is still active. Obviously, we had all that magma rolling around underneath the southwest rift zone here, but really no eruptive activity. Looks like everything's still the same. The volcano's not erupting, and earthquakes are holding steady at about 1 to 10 earthquakes per hour. So still looking at that earthquake activity kicking up. Let's check out some seismograph stations here and see what we got across the area just south here. Here's the crater area of Kilauea Volcano. I'm going to check out the seismograph station right about here. This has been the one I've been kind of watching for a lot of these little microquake activity events, and still looks like we're getting it, although not quite as active. As far as any webcams go, let's see what we got out here. This one's from today, it looks like. No signs of an eruption out there on the Big Island. Beautiful blue skies out there on the Hawaii landscape. Tilt meter out here. See what's going on here for this area. Kind of leveling off here. Really no... I'm just kind of puzzled as to why we haven't really seen any eruptive fissure activity out here. If anything, I believe it's heading off more so towards the south here. As these tilt meters, basically these tilt meters out here showed us and painted us a story of magma moving from the summit to the southwest rift zone, and then I think a little bit further south out here. Something going on that I think we still need to watch, but I think it's shooting towards a little bit further south of the Kilauea Volcano. Here's where we lost all that magma. Huge volume of magma. I think it was like 9 million cubic meters of magma that got displaced, moved over to the southwest rift zone, and then just kind of disappeared after that. But I know it's sitting down there. It's just kind of taking a little break, I believe. All right, what else we have here? Space weather activity. Let's see. Definitely looks like we're starting to kick back up here, getting some beautiful magnetic arches here out on the eastern limb. As far as flaring activity goes, we did see some further M-flare activity. Looks like a couple M-flare events here. I'm counting at least maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. This looks like one here as well, maybe 5. So this type of movement here definitely needs to be watched, as it's got the potential there to see some X-flare activity. And the culprit of these sunspots look to be 3570, or culprit of these flares seems to be the sunspot number 3576 here. That is a giant of a sunspot, still quite complex there. It is almost directly facing the Earth, and anything that should blast off or will blast off will definitely be Earth directed. That includes any large subsequent CME produced from any of these flares that could enhance the aurora forecast here in the days ahead. For now, fairly minimal, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that sunspot region. Look at that beautiful image here of that sunspot, and easily visible if you have a solar telescope. This is the visible disk. That is the kind of the showstopper right now, keeping up on the complexity. I still think we got a good chance of seeing some X-flare activity from that sunspot region. 99% chance for C flare, obviously M flare at 60, X flare around 25% chance. And with this type of unstable activity, I think it's possible we could see some X flare activity today. Storm Prediction Center out here, not a whole lot of severe weather threat. We do have a marginal risk up here around portions of the Great Lakes for a 2% chance of tornado probability. And looks like maybe a 5% chance for some damaging wind and some hail. Aside from that, just general thunderstorm activity out here across the Four Corners and portions of the southeast there. Numerical models, well, been kind of watching this here recently, waiting for some further storms to kick up here across the west coast. Now, I know the south down there going to get some decent moisture here coming up early next week. But California, watching some wet weather return. It looks like might have a little system coming in around Tuesday, February 13th or so, and then another little storm behind that. Maybe a couple storms behind that. So it looks like things may be kicking back up in terms of active weather out here. I do agree we do need to have a couple days to dry out because we did have quite a bit of flooding out here. Not quite like what Southern California's seen from the storm system, but from our past storm systems. But around here where I live, outside of Chico, definitely seen quite a bit of road closures and the typical flooding areas. So looking out here into the future, as far as rainfall accumulation, quite a bit here across the south. Goodness, gonna definitely soak those folks out there with some rainfall. West Coast looks like we'll have a couple more inches from these storm systems coming up, and then after that, we'll just have to see what March brings in. March can be quite a wet month as well for us here in the California area, at least Northern California. All right, folks. So once again, live views here of Iceland from the live from Iceland.is. That is the site if you want to check out these awesome webcam images here of the erupting activity. Third eruptive activity there in Iceland in the past 2 months. Last one was back in the middle of December, or the last one, most recent one was back in January here. So this makes the third one and still looks fairly active. Crazy. All right, we'll continue to watch that and, of course, report back on anything that changes out here, folks. The live seismograph stations here look somewhat active here across Hot Caves, Hawaii. I'll continue to watch that. We'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening, folks. Enjoy your Thursday. We got sunshine out here in California right now, so I might get out here and do a little bit of yard work before more rain comes in here in a few days. Take care, folks. Have a good day.